Amane was an antisocial loser who had no friends and only found happiness in his Johnny Sins CDs. However, his whole life changes for the better when he saves the depressed girl next door with his Riz, and now she's in love with him, giving him the happiness he's been missing. They first meet when Amane is heading home from school and spots Sheena, who's just sitting there in the rain, all depressed. He thinks of walking past, but then he sees her crying and figures he can't just leave her there. So, he strolls over, pops his umbrella over her, hands her the umbrella and tells her not to get sick. The next day at school, Amane's sneezing heavily due to the rain from the other day. Then, Sheena strolls into class, and the entire room collectively loses it, swooning over her beauty like she's prime Megan Fox. Amane thinks about how the school's angel is amazing at everything she does while keeping a smile on her face, and concludes that it's impossible for an angel like her to be a depressed emo. He knows how every pathetic simps would love to date her, but unlike them, a Sigma Chad like him doesn't. Later that day, Amane drags his half-dead self back home, and to his surprise, Sheena is there, waiting for him with his umbrella. Sheena says she's just returning what's not hers and comments that he looks horrible. Amane tells her to mind her business, but Sheena claps back, saying that she has to care after he got sick trying to play knight in shining umbrella. He snatches the umbrella from her and tells her to let it go, but mid-talk, he nearly collapses. Sheena catches him like a rom-com heroine and insists she owes him one. She steps into his disaster of an apartment and immediately tells him to change his clothes, while she'll be back shortly. When Amane asks why she'd want to return to this dump, she simply says she wants to help him sleep better. Then she scampers off to her own room, leaving Amane still in disbelief at how she's living right next door. Later that night, he wakes up to find Sheena watching him. She informs him he's been passed out for 2 hours and asks if he's hungry, as she made rice porridge just for him. Amane is baffled to know that she's good at cooking too. She hands him a thermometer for him to check his own temperature, and when he lifts his shirt to check his, Sheena looks away in a flustered panic. Right there, Amane finally gets why every guy at school is simping for her cuteness. She comes back with the porridge and asks about his fever. He says it's nothing a few pills and sleep won't fix, but Sheena gives him an impromptu lesson in why health class matters. When she hands him the food, he just stares at it like a stupid donut. She teases him about needing to be spoon-fed, but he's more surprised she can cook. She shrugs and says it's basic survival when living solo and suggests that he also needs to learn how to both cook food and clean his crusty-looking room. Amane compliments her food, and she shrugs it off, saying that a one-armed dummy could make rice porridge. Then he brings up the elephant in the rain, and asks why she was sulking in the rain like a tragic character, and suggests that it's because she got dumped by her 4 boyfriends. Sheena quickly clarifies that she has no boyfriend, and her morals are not loose, so that she would clap different dudes. Amane jokes that she probably has suitors lining up, but that hits a nerve. She snaps that she's not a public toilet, and he catches the shift in her vibe and apologizes. She reveals that she was just trying to clear her head that day, and she apologizes, too, for getting him sick. He brushes it off, saying he doesn't mind, and unlike other guys, he won't be trying to milk her guilt to get her to gobble his glizzy. It surprises Sheena to what that, and she acknowledges how tiring it is that the boys around her all have a desire for her. He also adds it's kinda refreshing to know angels have bad days, but out of annoyance, she asks him not to call her that. The next school day, Itsuki is glad to see Amane healthy again and tells him to pull himself together. As they're walking, Amane spots Sheena helping classmates with math, and Itsuki casually reminds him she's out of his league. That evening, Amane is sipping a pathetic jelly for dinner on his apartment's balcony, and when Sheena sees what he's eating, she scolds him for his poor food choices. She then goes inside, telling him to wait in his room, and moments later, comes back with real food that she has left over. He thanks her, makes another joke about angelic cuisine, and she once again tells him to quit it with the angel thing. Then, while eating, he thinks about how delicious it is. The next morning, he returns her dish, and she thanks him for actually washing it. But then, to his surprise, she gives him another plate of food. He protests at her gesture, but she insists she always makes too much. He gives in and thanks her, but warns that if she keeps doing this, he might catch feelings for her. She asks if that's the case, and he coldly tells her that he doesn't, and she slams the door in his face. From that point on, Sheena keeps giving Amane her homemade cooking, and his diet miraculously improves, from what was once diarrhea-inducing junk food to now nourishing meals. At school, Amane asks Itsuki if he looks healthier, and is genuinely surprised when Itsuki says he's finally not resembling a corpse. One afternoon while shopping, Amane bumps into Shina and tells her not to get the wrong idea as he's not stalking her. She rolls her eyes and tells him to get over himself, as she knows that they're in the supermarket closest to where they both live. He notices how she's careful in using her budget, and compliments her in saving up the allowances her parents gave her. But to his confusion, she shows a tint of sadness when he says that. After shopping, Amane offers to help carry her bags. She resists, but he insists, saying she'd score more charm points by letting him. Then he walks ahead, saying they'd look awkward together anyway. Later, when she swings by his apartment to pick up the other day's container, she finds him mid-cleaning in his garbage pit of a room. When he admits he's got no clue what he's doing, Shina jumps in with a crash course in adulting. Then, determined to wage war on the mess, they begin Operation Cleanup. At the start, they manage to clean the room smoothly, but partway through, Shina slips, and Amane catches her in a very convenient position. She scolds him for letting his apartment turn into a health hazard, which caused her to fall. He apologizes, and they keep cleaning, but deep down, Shina feels her heart pounding. After they finish cleaning, feeling exhausted, Amane suggests they order pizza. It amazes her to see takeout pizza for the first time, and Shina admits she's never had it, as her family's too elite for takeout. As she digs in, she tells Amane to stop staring, and he fires back at her, saying she has zero charms. However, he expresses how he likes this casual version of her more than the stiff, perfect one from school. She says she's always been like this deep down. Amane tells her she can chill around him, and she says she can't when his eyes are doing stuff to her. Before leaving, Amane asks why she keeps feeding him every day. She claims that she just likes preparing food for other people, and it makes her happy to know that Amane is eating quality food instead of his usual junk food. She adds that, unlike other dudes, Amane doesn't catch feelings towards her actions, which she enjoys. She goes to her room, and Amane draws the conclusion that she holds no feelings for him. Some days later, Amane stumbles across Shina parked on her lonesome and naturally asks what she's doing by herself. She casually throws out a nothing, but Amane's not buying it. His detective senses tingle when he sees her outfit covered in fur and injuries, and he asks her if she's been cuddling a tiger. Shina confesses that she just climbed a tree to rescue a cat and failed. Amane, playing the part of reluctant hero, tells her to hold still and shows up moments later with a med kit like some sort of overprepared Boy Scout. He orders her to take off her tights, and Shina asks him if he's off his drugs to ask her that. So he tosses her his jacket and clarifies that no, this isn't a ploy. He just doesn't want her knee to swell like a balloon. While she hesitantly accepts, he turns away while she sorts herself out, and appreciates that he doesn't try to peek. Then, after wrapping her ankle with surprising finesse, she mutters that maybe he's not entirely useless. Amane accepts this backhanded compliment like it's the Nobel Peace Prize. He then hands her some oversized sweats and a hoodie, and when asked what for, he explains that it's for her to disguise her celebrity identity while he carries her back. Then, as he carries her home, she apologizes for the hassle, and Amane just shrugs it off, saying that he's just that much of a gentleman Chad. But once home, Amane quickly enters his room after Shina thanked him, and Shina realizes that she's still in his pants. The next day at school, Amane shows up in shorts, which earns him a raised eyebrow from Itsuki. Amane tells him to shut it, as he forgot his sweatpants. Meanwhile, the school's popular handsome Squidward-looking dude, Kadawaki, is getting his usual prince treatment, and Amane, unimpressed, notes how the school's weirdly good at assigning nicknames like Angel and Prince. Just then, he locks eyes with Shina across the field, and she hits him with a smile, which gets Amane to look away, but the other dudes thought that she was smiling for them. Later at home, Shina swings by to return his clothes and brings a peace offering in the form of food. Amane asks how she's holding up, and she says she's fine, but just not running any marathons soon. He teases her about lighting up the field with her angelic smile, to which she rolls her eyes and reminds him she loathes that nickname. Curious, she asks why the crowd practically fainted when she smiled, and Amane, ever the smooth talker, compliments her looks and pokes if she's into Kadawaki. Shina tells him that she has no interest in Kadawaki and fires back that if pretty faces were enough, Amane would be in love with her right now, which leaves Amane momentarily rebooting. It amuses him how she acknowledges that she's a baddie, and she simply brushes it off, saying that she knows it from how others treat her, plus she takes good care of herself. He checks the food and asks if she made it. and she tells him to microwave it. But Amane says he likes it fresh, hinting at wanting a cooking date. She asks if he's trying to get inside her apartment to get freaky, and he assures her he's not stupid. They strike a deal to split the bill and cook at his place instead, just so Amane can get freshly made food. Amane checks if she'll feel safe being in his room, and she assures him that she will mash his eggs and pickle if he tries anything. She also adds that she's not his type, and when he asks her how she would know that, she comments that he would have been glazing her feet by now if that were the case, which isn't. When she arrives, Sheena sees the kitchen is squeaky clean, probably the only clean thing in his apartment, and tells him to stay out of the way, not wanting him to get in her way. While she cooks, Amane watches her and thinks that she looks like his wife. She snaps him out of it, asking if he's trying to see through her apron. He fires back that she's full of herself. Once the food is ready, Amane digs in like a man possessed and throws compliments at her cooking, calling it the best thing his mouth has tasted since his mother's milk. Afterward, he asks why she keeps feeding a guy she supposedly doesn't like. She shrugs, saying she enjoys it and that it's also good karma feeding the underprivileged bums. She offers to stop if it's weird, but Amane quickly tells her to continue. The next day, after surviving a brutal test, Itsuki whines that the exam was unfair. Amane jabs that it's what he gets for dating instead of studying. Itsuki claps back, saying Amane will be just as whipped once he falls for someone. Just then, Chitos, Itsuki's girlfriend, pops up and asks if Amane has a girlfriend, as she wants to befriend her. He jokingly says his imaginary one wouldn't approve of new friendships. Later, in Amane's place, Sheena thanks him for handling the dishes. When he asks what she's working on, she casually says she's grading herself. Amane asks her progress, and she humbly brags that she's already covered next year's curriculum. He asks if she even likes studying, and she says she doesn't have a choice. Amane admits he does it mostly to avoid parental drama. Before she leaves, she accidentally drops her ID, and Amane quickly returns it to her. But he sees that her birthday is in 4 days and puts it in his mental note. While cooking later, he asks what she would want if he were to give her a gift. She pauses and says she would want a sharpening stone, which surprises him. Amane, mildly concerned, asks if she's normal, and Sheena just says he's lucky she's not like other girls. The next day, Amane enlists Itsuki's help for gift ideas, but everything sounds awful or impractical to him, so he decides to hold off with his idea. Eventually, they call in Chitos, who immediately becomes way too interested. She bombards Amane with questions about the girl, but he keeps brushing away her questions. She finally suggests a stuffed animal. Amane scoffs at the idea of buying a teddy bear like some rom-com lead, and Chitos calls him a coward. However, Amane sees that a stuffed animal is a good idea, but to avoid embarrassment, he begs her to help him buy it. She agrees to do so, as long as he buys her crepes, which he gladly agrees to buy. Days later, it's Sheena's birthday, and Amane courageously hands her the gifts, wishing her a happy birthday. Feeling creeped out, she asks him how he knows it's her birthday, and he tells her how he accidentally saw it on her ID. She tells him that he should have just ignored it, as she never celebrated her birthdays before. But after hearing that, he hands the gifts anyway, telling her to see them as his token of gratitude. Then, she opens the first gift in the form of a hand cream, and he explains that since she actively uses her hands all day, he thought she would need it, and she thanks him for it. However, she finds another gift in the bag in the form of a teddy bear, and out of embarrassment, he tells her that she could just throw it away if she doesn't like it, but she assures him that she will cherish the teddy bear forever. In that moment, his eyes linger on her hugging the bear, and he quickly pulls himself back, not wanting to catch feelings. Suddenly, she tells him how she never got presents like that before, as she never told anyone about her birthdays. She expresses how she was always nervous to receive gifts from strangers, and when Amane asks her about his gifts, she tells him that he's not a stranger to her. Suddenly, he gets the urge to pat her head, but quickly puts his urges to bed, realizing he almost folded. Some days later, Amane's door swings open to reveal the last boss of his peace and quiet, his mother, Chihoko. She greets him with a smile and says he looks better than she remembered. Amane, in classic fashion, gives her a half-hearted thanks and politely tells her to scram. Naturally, she ignores that and insists he at least pretend he's happy to see her, especially after she came all that way. With a sigh, Amane repeats the thanks, a little less deadpan this time, and tells her again to leave. Undeterred, Chihoko tries to waltz right into his apartment, only for Amane to become the human barricade. That is, until she reminds him whose money is footing the rent. Checkmate and the blockade collapse, and Shihoko struts in like she's on a mission. Amane grumbles about visitor etiquette while she pokes around, clearly enjoying catching him off guard. She comments on how clean his room is and how great his skin looks, and Amane flashes back to minutes before, where he had to stuff Sheena into his bedroom to avoid meeting his mother. However, Shihoko spots the signs from 2 sets of dishes, maybe a whiff of perfume, and accuses him of cooking for 2. Amane plays it cool, muttering something about a friend. But when Shihoko tries to peek into the bedroom, he jumps to block her again. He claims he refuses to let her see his Mia Khalifa DVDs, but Shihoko isn't buying it. She barges in, and to her surprise, there's Sheena, sleeping like the plot twist she is. Shihoko lights up and declares he's got fine taste in girls. Amane denies everything, claiming there's nothing going on. But Shihoko hits him with the classic, girls would never enter a boy's room if she doesn't like him. As he panics and tries to set the record straight, Sheena wakes up. Without missing a beat, Shihoko wastes no time introducing herself to her mother-in-law, and Amane tries to protest, but nope, Shihoko's in charge now. Embarrassed, Amane watches as Sheena tries to explain their relationship, citing Amane's addiction to fast food. But Shihoko's already planning all the way to their wedding and their babies. When Shihoko finds out Sheena lives next door, she calls it fate and says her little boy's lucked into the perfect woman. She adds that Amane is still a virgin, suggesting that Sheena take the lead. Amane, absolutely done, demands that she leave. Shihoko offers a fake apology for crashing their romantic evening, and before leaving, she gets Sheena's contact numbers before finally taking her exit. Alone at last, Amane apologizes for the circus act that is his mom. But Sheena says he's lucky to have someone who cares enough to cause chaos. This hits Amane a bit, especially when Sheena admits no one even calls her by her first name, not even her own parents. They agree to use each other's first names, but only in private. When she tries to give back the key he handed her in panic mode earlier, Amane tells her to keep it because he trusts her. Sheena warns him he's basically opening the door for dramatic anime-style romance scenarios, but Amane takes that challenge gracefully. The next day, to no one's surprise, Sheena tops the test rankings. Amane overhears the girls calling her built different, but knowing her true self, Amane internally disagrees, deeming Sheena a hard worker who works twice as hard as the rest of them. Later, Sheena finds a random cake in Amane's fridge and asks if he's secretly into sweets. He shrugs and says it's for celebrating her top score. She downplays it, but he says she's too humble for her own good. When she serves the cake, Amane stares, not at the cake, but at her, who is sweeter than the cake. She misreads it and offers him a bite. He admits he was watching her, not the cake. Still, she forces him to eat. Then he returns the favor by feeding her back and asks how it feels to be spoon-fed. She says it's unbearable, and he warns her that spoon-feeding people food like that could give them ideas. Sometime later, Amane decides to cook for himself on a solo mission. Unfortunately, all he can think about is how much better Sheena's food tastes. When he tells her his plan, she offers help with the kind of faith people have in expired coupons. He explains his masterpiece dish and begins his culinary showdown. When the dishes are done, they end up looking like dog water, and he nervously offers her a bite. She tries it and basically tells him it tastes like the crushed dreams of OnlyFans girls who failed to make it big. Still, she appreciates the effort and offers him to taste her version of the same dish. She expresses how it's good for him to learn how to cook and asks what happens when he finally learns to cook. Amane grins and says he hopes he never learns, because that way, she'll always have a reason to come over. Hearing that makes Sheena's heart beat faster, and she tells him that she will slowly teach her. Weeks later, Itsuki and Chidos want to host a Christmas Eve hangout at Amane's place. Amane shuts it down, and Chidos asks if his imaginary girlfriend has other plans. He retorts that he's still single, but Chidos calls him out about the stuffed animal gift he got, and he simply tells them he got the gift for his neighbor, who has been helping around his place. After some bullying and begging, he agrees to host, but they gotta leave before dark. Later, Amane asks Sheena if she has any plans with her friends for Christmas Eve. She says most of her girlfriends have boyfriends, and she's turned down a dozen invites from desperate simps. When Amane tells her his Christmas Eve is booked with his chaos friends, she says she'll stay in her room alone, as she always does. He notices how sad and lonely she looks, so he offers to spend Christmas Day with him instead, and she agrees, on the condition he teaches her to play his video games, which is something she's always been interested in. Christmas Eve rolls around, and the party's on. Itsuki says Omane's place looks way less tragic than last time, and Chitos notes there's now a feminine touch to it, which sends Omane into crisis mode. When he tries to shut down their flirting, Itsuki tells him to get a life. Then, Chitos casually mentions how Sheena rejected every guy this Christmas because she had plans with someone, which makes Omane feel suspicious. Just then, the snow starts falling, and the couple rushes to the balcony to look closer. But to their shock, they find Sheena there, alone, quiet, and beautiful under the snow next door. Later on, the crew gathers at Omane's place, where Sheena quickly offers an apology for blowing their cover. Omane, being the resident stoic with a soft spot, tells her to cool it as it wasn't her fault anyway. To satisfy everyone's curiosity, Sheena breaks down their living arrangement and claims she's just trying to keep Omane from self-destructing like a malfunctioning toaster. Then, Itsuki, never missing a chance to stir the pot, asks if Omane actually has feelings for Sheena or if wedding bells are in the air. Both immediately shoot that idea down, saying it's more likely for a pig to fly. Right on cue, Itsuki asks if the teddy bear he spotted is for Sheena, too. Omane tells him to shut up before he gets drop-kicked. He then gives his two besties a lecture about keeping their yaps shut. Chitos assures him that nobody would ever believe a top-tier babe like Sheena would simp for a bum like Omane. Just then, Chitos finally gets a proper look at Sheena and practically short-circuits. She's stunned, swooning, and leans in like she's about to kiss her, but Omane leaps into action and blocks the move, telling her not to overcrowd Sheena, who's quite shy. Chitos apologizes, saying she was momentarily overwhelmed by Sheena's divine-level beauty. She then sticks out her hand and officially introduces herself and Itsuki, while Sheena smiles politely. Trying to play it cool, Itsuki turns to Sheena and declares that he's Omane's best friend and the designated punch-in-the-face officer if Omane ever steps out of line. Sheena laughs and says that besides his tragic housekeeping, Omane's actually kind of a chill guy. Chitos chimes in, saying she likes cooking too, but she and recipes don't get along. After they leave, Omane apologizes for Chitos and advises Sheena to give her a light slap if she ever goes turbo again. They chat about the beautiful snow they get to witness, exchange a few jokes, and Sheena heads off to grab some of her stew. While she's gone, Omane slips into reflective mode, thinking about how wild the evening has been. Over dinner, Sheena watches him eat and says he looks genuinely happy with the food in front of him. Omane grins and says her cooking is so good it could make a grown man cry. As he does the dishes, he asks how she learned to cook. Sheena explains that someone once told her the fastest way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Omane compliments whoever taught her how to cook, and she expresses how, unlike the person who taught her, she is still unable to touch her level. But Omane tells her that her cooking brings him joy, which makes her fold. He then asks about their plan for Christmas, and Sheena casually reminds him of their video game date. The next day rolls around, and the gaming session begins where she's trash at it. While showing her some moves, Omane accidentally gets too close. He apologizes immediately, and Sheena says it's fine, as they're not strangers anymore. Eventually, Sheena starts getting into the game, having a blast while Omane enjoys how cute she is. Then suddenly, she trips and lands right on his poor, innocent lap. Omane's soul briefly leaves his body while he debates whether to cry or laugh. Sheena gasps and apologizes like she's committed a war crime, but Omane smiles and says she looks adorable. She starts beating him while flustered beyond belief. Later, Sheena wins a match and Omane cheers like she just unlocked a secret level. He hands her a gift as a reward. Sheena tells him to calm down with all the presents, but Omane insists she pretend it's from Santa Claus. When she opens it, she finds a key case, since she's been holding onto his keys. Sheena's impressed and tells him he's more stylish than she expected. Then she hits him with a plot twist that Shihoko sent her an old picture of Omane. Omane realizes they must have swapped contacts the day Shihoko came over. He tries to downplay it, but Sheena moves his bangs aside and calls him handsome. He blushes, then returns the favor, brushing her hair away as they both quietly let the tension build. A moment later, Sheena surprises him with a gift of her own, a new arm muffler. Suddenly, Omane's confidence meter overflows, and he rizzes her up, complimenting how much brighter her smile has become, which he likes a lot. Sheena, flustered, tells him to shut up so she can breathe. She bolts out of the room, redder than a tomato. Omane follows, worried she'll catch a cold. Sheena turns around and says he's the one who needs to worry about catching colds. Before heading off to bed, Amane thanks her for adding so much color to his life and Sheena thanks him right back. The next morning, Amane notices her face is still red. He asks if she's okay, and Sheena claims she is. He's not buying it, so he checks her temperature himself, confirms her fever. He says it's time to rest and scoops her up to carry her home. But Sheena stops him at her door, saying boys aren't allowed inside. Amane casually offers up his apartment for her to sleep in, and after some bickering, she agrees. Back at his place, she eats, takes her meds, and thanks him for taking care of her. Amane says she's done the same for him and asks why she's always pushing herself so hard. Sheena tells him he's never been a burden. As Amane starts to leave, she grabs his hand and softly tells him goodnight. He holds her hand back, and when she gets flustered, he says he's just trying to help her sleep. The next morning, he checks in again. Sheena says she's mostly okay, and Amane offers to make porridge. After she eats, they sit together, and she admits no one's ever taken care of her like this. She apologizes for being a burden again, and Amane immediately shuts that down, saying he can't stand seeing her in pain. He holds her hand again to help her sleep, quietly wondering how things could have gone if they weren't trying so hard to play it cool. It's New Year's, and Amane and Sheena are spending it together, getting all sentimental about continuing whatever thing they've got going on into the new year. Eventually, they both check their phones. Amane's got texts from Itsuki and Shihoko basically teasing him about his cozy time with Sheena. Then, his dad messages, asking if they can drop by in a few days. Amane gives the okay, but when he turns to tell Sheena, she's out cold on his shoulder. He tries waking her, but she just melts into his arms, and he realizes how tired she is from all the cooking she did for New Year's. He tries waking her up again, but she ends up falling closer to him, and he can't help but admire how good she smells. Amane thinks hard about what to do then, and after briefly debating his options, he decides the gentleman's move is to tuck her into bed. While admitting how beautiful she looks, he gives her cheek a soft rub before whispering her goodnight. The next morning, Sheena is still asleep, and Amane finds himself admiring how cute she looks while snoozing. He gently brushes her face, which, to his surprise, wakes her up a little bit, and she starts enjoying how soft his hands are. Then, she wakes up startled, but Amane quickly assures her he didn't do anything scandalous and jokes she should be thanking him for not doing the freaky like he's Diddy. Sheena fires back, asking if rubbing cheeks is something he likes to do, and she reveals that she was awake the whole time he tucked her in. Amane groans, telling her not to mess with him like that, as it's dangerous for a guy with hormones. Then he asks, half joking, if she wants him to make a move, and Sheena blushes hard and hides her face. Soon after, Amane's parents drop by. He greets his dad, Shido, like a civilized human, but pretends his mom, Shihoko, is invisible. When she calls him out on it, he snaps back that respect is a two-way street. Then he notices a suspicious-looking box, and Shihoko says it's just some stuff they brought over. She barges in to greet Sheena, and Shudo isn't far behind. He introduces himself, thanking Sheena for looking after Amane, and Sheena graciously says it's mutual. Then Shihoko, queen of backhanded compliments, calls Amane a useless bum, but Sheena defends him, saying that Amane has been quite considerate of her. Shudo feels happy that they get along and advises Sheena not to go easy on Amane if he steps out of line. Sheena serves them tea, earning praises for her manners. Shihoko, though, can't resist teasing, saying it's nice to see Amane with a pretty girl. Shudo tells her to cut it out, but mentions how her doting attitude is why he fell for her, which somehow makes her blush. Then, Shihoko brings up the New Year's shrine visit. When they admit they haven't gone yet, she reveals she bought a kimono for Sheena and insists they all go together. Amane protests, worried they might run into classmates. Shihoko shrugs it off, simply telling him not to get caught. Before heading out, Amane checks his outfit in the mirror, earning a compliment from his dad. Shudo asks him if he's happy to move there, and compared to his dark past, Amane feels way happier. Then, Sheena walks out in the kimono, and Amane short-circuits. He's speechless until his mom reminds him that his mouth still works. He fumbles out a compliment, and Sheena appreciates it. Later, when they're alone, he admits she looks amazing. Sheena, clearly flustered, returns the favor and whispers him a compliment, telling him he looks handsome, which folds him. At the shrine, Amane asks Sheena if she's okay, and she says she feels awkward in the kimono. Among the crowds, she nearly falls, but Amane catches her and decides to hold her hand for the rest of the walk. After praying, Amane teases her for praying too long. She says she wishes for more peaceful days like this one, and Amane mutters that peace and her mother don't coexist. They grab some bean soup, and Amane asks if he can taste hers. When she hesitates, he assumes she doesn't want to share, but she swaps the cups so he can have a taste of hers. Then she reminds him how awkward it felt the last time they fed each other. Amane just realizes how it's an indirect kiss and apologizes for treating her the same way as his buddies, with whom he usually trades saliva with. After hearing that Sheena is not amused and drinks from his glass, as she considers him her friend too. Later, Amane apologizes for tiring her for the day, but Sheena says she had fun and felt genuinely happy, which was something she hadn't felt in some time. Seeing how cute she is, he gives her a head rub, and she accuses him of trying to mess up her hair. When he asks if she doesn't like it, she just tells him to warn her next time. Then she grills him, saying that he shouldn't rub girls' heads like that, but he rizzes her up, saying that she's the only girl he's doing that with. It instantly hits Sheena like a truck, and she runs back to her apartment, takes a peek back at him, and calls him a dummy through the door. The next day, Amane's parents leave to go back home. They tell him they're looking forward to the day Amane brings Sheena back home for real. Shadow even tells Sheena he hopes she stays friends with Amane, and she responds that she's lucky to know him. Later on, Amane tells her not to butter him up to appease his parents, but Sheena insists she meant everything she said about him, as she genuinely sees him as a good and handsome guy. Then she heads off to make lunch like nothing happened. At school the next day, rumors are flying about Sheena visiting the shrine with a mysterious hot guy. The girls speculate about who this secret Chad boyfriend could be. Amane and Itsuki overhear, and Itsuki tries to console Amane, but he doesn't want to hear anything from him. Eventually, Amane and Sheena talk about the gossip. Sheena says it's better if no one knows it was he. Sheena says it's best to wait till the storm blows over, and Amane sighs, saying an ugly bum like him couldn't be her boyfriend anyway. After hearing that, Sheena snaps, saying that she genuinely believes he is a decent person who should be more confident in himself. Amane thanks her compliment and goes off to do the dishes while Sheena smothers her embarrassment under a pillow. Days later, Chido swings by Amane's place, looking suspiciously thoughtful. She announces she needs his wise counsel because Valentine's Day is almost here. Amane, ever the killjoy, reminds her that responsible students should be more concerned about exams. But one glance at Sheena, and she knows that deep down, Amane has a soft side. She finally confesses her big dilemma that she wants to give Itsuki chocolates, and it has to be special. Amane immediately volunteers Sheena as the superior choice for anything remotely girly. Chidos, disappointed, says she thought he'd have better ideas, being a guy and all. Amane insists he's a full-fledged man. Chidos fires back that full-fledged men usually make moves when alone with a girl, instantly flustering both Amane and Sheena. Amane insists he can't just randomly make moves, seeing as they're not even a couple. As they sip tea to cool the mood, Chidos casually drops that she's giving Amane some chocolates too. She even asks what kind he likes, and he, being a cranky old soul, says he doesn't care much for sweet things. Then she turns to Sheena and asks if she's giving anyone chocolates. Sheena replies she's only giving them to the girls in class because giving one to a guy would be asking for social chaos. Come Valentine's Day, while the others starve, Kadawaki is practically drowning in a chocolate avalanche from every girl within a 5-mile radius. The other guys just watch, debating whether they should jump him or steal his chocolates. Itsuki and Amane, meanwhile, sit back like seasoned observers. Amane mumbles that he's not expecting chocolates anyway, and Itsuki warns him to brace for impact as Chidos has prepared something for him as well. Amane's eyes narrow, asking what she put in them. Itsuki proceeds to list a suspiciously unholy combo of ingredients, and Amane wonders aloud if Chidos is trying to poison him. Then, Itsuki brings up Sheena and whether Amane thinks she'll give him anything, but he casually tells him that he's clueless. Then, Chidos delivers the box to Amane with a wink and a vague warning. Itsuki gives a dramatic good luck and leaves him to his fate. Before heading out, Amane talks to Kadawaki and hands his shopping bag to him, who needs it to haul his chocolate hoard. Later, Amane is quietly tearing up over Chidos's experimental chocolates. Sheena, watching this meltdown, gives him a quick chocolate-based palate cleanser like the culinary goddess she is and tells him it's like hot chocolate. Amane drinks it and immediately feels human again, praising her for how tasty it is. Curious, he asks if she made it because it's Valentine's Day. She awkwardly nods while being extremely flustered, then suddenly bolts to her apartment. leaving him dazed and wondering if he said something dumb again. When he goes to chase after her, he finds a little gift bag and a handwritten thank you note waiting for him. Inside, he finds chocolates, the good kind, not too sweet kind, and he realizes that she listened to when he told Chitos he preferred his chocolates not too sweet. The next day at school, Katawaki thanks Amane for the shopping bag while some girls look on, trying to figure out what Prince Charming wants with the mysterious nobody. Itsuki, ever curious, asks what that was about. Amane explains, and Itsuki immediately clowns him for carrying a shopping bag like someone's grandma, and Amane claims Shina's influence is to blame. Then, Itsuki teases that Amane basically has a live-in wife now, and Amane denies it aggressively. The topic shifts to Chitos, and Itsuki reveals his dad wasn't too thrilled about him planning to marry her someday. Still, he's determined to win him over. They wish each other luck, though Amane insists he's got nothing going on romantically. Back home, Amane finds Shina waiting in his apartment and thanks her again for the chocolates. He asks if she wants anything in return. She says no, but Amane insists he has to do something to repay her kindness. He promises to think of something but warns her not to expect fireworks. Shina responds sweetly that she treasures anything he gives her, just like how she treasured the teddy bear he gave her. Then, she asks when his birthday is, and he informs her that it's in November. It annoys her that he didn't tell her when it is, and he simply reminds her that they weren't as close back then as they are now. She demands they celebrate his next one together, which makes Amane raise an eyebrow, realizing that she just asked him to continue being with her for another year, and Shina immediately blushes like she just proposed. Sometime later, Amane browses a gift shop to find a gift for Shina, but he ends up getting stuck. He ends up asking the clerk for help finding a present for a close friend he's totally not dating. Back home, Shina is shocked seeing how well-dressed Amane looks, and she can't help but steal glances at his handsome face. He tries to return himself to look like usual, but she insists that despite her getting distracted, she likes his new cooler look. Amane awkwardly declares that it's White Day, and he tries to play it cool, but then hands her a small gift. She opens it to find a flower bracelet and 2 Amane favor coupons. She immediately redeems one by asking him to put the bracelet on her, which he accepts. As he does, she thanks him graciously, and he can't help but momentarily get lost in her eyes. Later, he tells Itsuki what happened, and Itsuki practically throws confetti, congratulating him for finally acting like a man. Amane denies everything, and Itsuki smirks and says Amane's definitely changed since meeting Shina. But now all that's left is to make a move. That evening, Amane walks into his apartment and is greeted by Shina in an apron, looking like she's a newlywed wife. She asks why he's late, and he says he had fries with Itsuki. She jokes that he's going to get fat, but quickly pulls back the statement, realizing that Amane is a stick who needs to gain weight. He fires back that she's the same way, and he grabs her hand to show just how skinny she is. Realizing he touched her, he quickly apologized, remembering she usually hates physical contact. But Shina tells him softly that he is the exception. Then he notices she's not wearing the bracelet. She says she's saving it for a day when she's not busy scrubbing floors and doing laundry, as just like everything he gave her, she wants to reassure them all. Amane grins and says he's just happy she likes it. He walks off to change, short-circuiting with the realization that Shina is acting like a wife already. The very next day, Itsuki marches into school with a bag full of clothes. Turns out, he had a fight with his dad over Chitos and now plans to crash at Amane's place. Amane, clearly caught off guard, asks how long this little vacation is supposed to last. Itsuki casually says a few days, and Amane, like any responsible citizen, pulls out his phone to warn Shina in advance. When they arrive, Shina greets Itsuki with her usual calm, and he immediately apologizes for intruding on their love nest, which earns him a well-deserved foot thump from Amane. Shina just tells them to behave before heading off to make dinner like the domestic goddess she is. The moment she's gone, Itsuki leans in and tells Amane they've got a wedding to plan. Dinner rolls around, and Itsuki is in heaven, calling Amane a lucky man for getting to eat Shina's cooking every day. Amane agrees without hesitation, and Shina, ever modest, thanks them both for the praise. Later that night, with his belly full, Itsuki gets all philosophical. He tells Amane he's been hit by Cupid hard and just doesn't know it yet, as even though Amane is the school's honorary antisocial goblin, Shina saw right through that and chose him anyway. Itsuki says it's beautiful, and that Amane should just be honest with himself already. The next day, Amane is on the phone with Chitos, who's throwing a tantrum about missing Shina's cooking. Amane says it's not up to him. Naturally, Chitos decides to go over his head and ask Sheena directly. Minutes later, she's at the door with Sheena, announcing that she'll be spending spring break at Sheena's. She barges in and makes herself right at home, cozying up to Itsuki like it's her place. Sheena just shrugs it off, telling Amane that she agreed to Chitos staying at her place. In the kitchen, Amane offers to help with lunch and gets teased by Sheena for being jealous. He plays it cool and asks what's on the menu. When she tells him they're eating omuris, he gives her the ultimate compliment, saying that she makes them the best, and Sheena blushes hard like she's trying not to. Meanwhile, the real couple gossip about how Amane should start dating Sheena, considering the chemistry they have. At lunch, Chitos practically ascends to heaven after the first bite and says she wants to learn to cook like Sheena. But Amane says she'd do better if she toned down the drama and the experiments. Chitos, completely unbothered, claims she could never be as uptight as Sheena. Amane calls her out for her comment, and Chitos explains that at school, Sheena looks like she's distant from everyone despite her popularity. Then she tries to convince Sheena to loosen up a little, saying Amane might just spoil her more if she does. Sheena laughs it off and says that's never happening, while deep down, hoping that it will happen. Later that night, Chitos sends Amane a picture of Sheena cuddling a teddy bear, which takes him by surprise with how adorable she is, and Itsuki takes one of him, fresh from the shower, to send back in return. The next day, once the lovebirds are gone, Amane brings up the photo and compliments Sheena on how well she's been taking care of the bear. Sheena gets a little too detailed about her bedtime cuddle rituals, but suddenly gets embarrassed and demands Amane share something equally mortifying. He refuses, so she threatens to ask Itsuki, which makes Amane panic, regretting the fact that they exchanged contact info. He tells her that she got a text, and when she looks who it is, her mood drops drastically. Later, Amane returns from the store and finds Sheena getting chewed out by her mom, Seo, who threatens never to visit again after Sheena graduates. After Seo storms off, Amane asks what that was about. Sheena, barely holding it together, reveals that Seo is her mother, who hates her own daughter. She brushes it off and tries to leave, but Amane stops her and asks her to stay with him. They sit down, and Sheena begins unraveling the mess that is her family life. Her parents married for business reasons, and she's the result of an expired protection. They never really wanted to raise her and left her in the care of a housekeeper while they were constantly away. She tried everything from getting good grades, awards, and achievements, all to get noticed, but nothing worked. Turns out, they're just waiting for her to finish college so they can officially split and abandon her. It broke her to hear her own mother not wanting her, that she tried to wash it off by sitting under the rain by herself. Amane finally understands why she keeps people at arm's length. He wraps her in a hug and tells her it all makes sense now. Sheena thanks him and rests her head on his chest. She tells him that, unlike the fake angelic side of her, no one really wants the real her, and Amane, without even realizing it, admits that he likes her. And then he just keeps going, spilling the full content of his heart, listing every little thing he adores about her. Then he panics and tries to walk it back, but by then Sheena's tearing up. She tells him to look at her more, to hold her, and when he reaches for her hand, she goes full-on anime heroine and throws herself into his arms. A few quiet moments pass, and then she's embarrassed for crying so much in front of him. Amane reassures her that she can depend on others and that she's not alone. He tells her that she has him and the others, and they all like her for who she really is. She asks if he really means it, and he assures her that he does, as he has been the person living with her. After that, they decide to take a walk. While they stroll, they talk about school and how their classes might change next year. Under a tree blooming with cherry blossoms, Sheena hugs Amane and thanks him again. She admits she never liked spring and cherry blossoms because she was always alone during big school moments, and Amane promises she won't have to be alone anymore, not if he can help it. As the new school term kicks off, the classes get reshuffled, and Amane ends up in the same class as his usual crew and Sheena. Itsuki loses his mind in full dramatic fashion, while Amane puts on his usual poker face. But beneath the calm, he and Sheena are side-eyeing each other like they've got a secret. Not long after, Kadoaki strolls over to greet them as his new classmates. Just the sight of him triggers a mini flashback for Amane, who quickly snaps out of it and manages a decent greeting in return. Later that day at home, Sheena notices something's off with Amane and straight up asks what's bugging him. He brushes it off, but Sheena's refuses to let it slide. Instead, she randomly says she wants to touch his hair. Amane blinks at her, confused, but tells her to go ahead. She offers her lap, saying that it'll make things easier. With Amane resting his head in her lap, Sheena gently strokes his hair, and feeling bold, Amane asks what she'd do if he tried to sneak a peek at her assets. Without missing a beat, Sheena says she'd crush his jewels, but she adds she doubts he's got the guts for that kind of move anyway. They sit in silence, her fingers in his hair, until Sheena randomly says that Amane's not very romantic if he stays silent. Sheena reveals that Chitos has been giving her lessons in how to make a man feel good, and Amane warns her not to get too used to pampering him. She just shrugs, telling him to relax and enjoy the deluxe treatment. Then, Sheena brings up the class reshuffling, and Amane admits he didn't see it coming either. They agree to keep their distance at school to avoid setting off the gossip. But when Amane says that without a drop of emotion, Sheena pinches his cheek and insists that they act normal at home at least. He agrees, and not long after, falls asleep on her lap. About an hour later, he wakes up groggy and Sheena smiles and says he looks cute when he's sleeping. Amane groans and tells her to knock it off with the sweet talk. Sheena tells him to shut it as he's seen every version of her already, and then gives his cheek another pinch, saying it looks better now. She gently tells him that if he ever needs to talk, she's there. Amane calls her pushy, and she grins, saying that not everyone gets to experience her special treatment. The next day, Amane hits the arcade and returns home lugging a mysterious bag. Sheena spots it immediately and asks what's up. He plays coy, but later reveal that it's packed full of stuffed animals which he won for her. Sheena all gushy over her new plushies while Amane watches, totally smitten. She gets flustered seeing his stare and accuses him of treating her like a child, but he simply calls her cute. That earns her head rubs, which miraculously works to calm her down. Feeling extra grateful, Sheena offers to do anything to repay him. Amane freezes. His brain short circuits, thinking of all the creamy possibilities. And then he asks for a creamy pudding, with lots of eggs. Sheena's surprised to hear his easy request, but she agrees to make it the next day. The next day, Sheena makes the pudding, eggs and all, and serves it up. After chomping it down, Amane says how happy he is to have her around. Sheena blushes and says she's flattered, but Amane believes that she should be getting more praises from then on. Amane offers to shower her with compliments all day, but being flustered, she shuts it down and grabs the plate to wash it. Amane quickly stops her and tells her to rest while he does the dishes. At school, the next day, Kadawaki approaches Amane and Itsuki to invite them to lunch. Itsuki, ever the blunt one, asks why Kadawaki's suddenly so interested in glazing Amane. Kadawaki insists he just wants to be friends. Amane raises an eyebrow, asking if there's any real benefit in it for him. Kadawaki shrugs, asking why anyone would need a reason to be friends, and expresses how he wants to get to know them better. While they talk, Amane catches Sheena staring at him from across the room. Back home, he brings it up. He asks if something's bothering her and pre-apologizes just in case he's the reason. But Sheena says that it's not him. After some light pestering, she finally admits she's jealous that his friends get to chat with him at school while she has to keep her feelings locked up. Amane jokes that it'd look weird if the school angel started hanging out with a bum loser like him. It angers her to hear that, and she scolds him for always putting himself down. He tries to apologize, but Sheena refuses his apologies and threatens to start loudly advertising how amazing he is unless he starts believing in himself. Then, they both agree to start small to get closer in public, so they can avoid suspicion from the others. The next day in class, the students are divided into cooking groups, and as planned, Sheena offers to join Amane's group. Later, while Amane and his crew talk and fool around, Sheena watches with envy. Chitos teases her and asks if she wants something that cozy. Amane says she's pushing it and steers everyone back to cooking. In the cooking class, Chitos doubts Amane's ability to wield a spatula, but he surprises her. As he follows Sheena's instructions, Chitos comments that they look cute together, until Sheena tells her to quit the commentary and focus. But when Amane looks at her, he realizes that she's flustered by Chitos's comments. Then, they finish cooking, and before they plate the food, Sheena and Amane go to the fridge to pick up their dessert. While grabbing ingredients from the fridge, some dumb chef nearly spills boiling food on Sheena, but Amane dives in and pulls her to safety like a true romantic Chad. The class watches, stunned. Amane calmly lectures the stupid Gordon Ramsay wannabe while still holding Sheena, and everyone is in awe, seeing the new side of Amane. When they get back, Chitos gushes about how cool Amane looked. He downplays it, saying he only stepped in because Sheena was about to get burned, and the reason he held her was because he had to. Sheena doesn't like that, and thanks him cheaply. Later at home, Sheena worries about how long it'll take before they can act normal in public. Amane reassures her, but she tells him not to say that, because she doesn't want to get used to pretending. He pats her head to calm her down, and she learns that head patting won't always calm her down. However, when he stops, she tells him to keep going, not wanting it to stop. A while later, Amane tells Sheena there's a week-long vacation coming up. She doesn't exactly jump for joy, and when he asks why, she explains that she has no idea how to spend all that free time. Amane brings up her cooking lessons with Chitos, and she admits that's the only real plan on her radar. Then, casually, she asks if he's free. Suspicious, he asks if she's cooking up something. That's when she whips out a second Amane ticket and invites him to spend a day shopping and hanging out with her during Golden Week. He says he's happy to tag along, then immediately regrets it when she says he'll have to do whatever she says that day. Curious, he asks what she has planned, and she wants him to carry her shopping bags. As for where they're headed, she hasn't decided yet, but she wants someplace fun for both of them. Amane suggests a cat cafe, saying it's less awkward if they go together. Sheena nods approvingly, then adds shopping and a trip to the arcade to the mix since it's her first time. Later on, cooking lessons with Chitos kick off, and she's yapping non-stop, as usual. Amane tells her to dial it down since they're in his house. Sheena, all apologetic, says sorry for using his kitchen, but he's more concerned about Chitos's reputation in cooking after the chocolate chaos she caused on Valentine's Day. Chitos insists it was just a prank, but Amane says he'd rather trust a thief than trust her. As the lesson goes on, Amane starts dozing off. When he eventually wakes up, he's rubbing Sheena's thighs. She tells him he'd been leaning on her shoulder, and he apologizes, but she brushes it off. Chitos, living for the romance plot, asks when they started using first names. Amane side-eyes her, suspecting that she did something while he's asleep, but she assures him that she did nothing, while Sheena acts suspicious. Then, the food is served, and Amane questions whether it's safe to eat. Chitos gets offended, so he thanks her begrudgingly, and after taking a bite, admits that it's actually pretty good. Chitos thanks Sheena for the lesson and heads out. Alone now, Sheena confesses that she pranked him while he was asleep and apologizes. When asked what she did, she confessed that she played with Amane's hair and cheeks while he was sleeping. When he teases her, asking if it felt good, she blushes and admits it did. He gets his revenge by rubbing her cheeks, which Sheena enjoys a lot. Then, the topic takes a turn, and Sheena wants to know Amane's taste in clothes and what he wants her to wear. She asks whether he prefers for her to look prim and proper or dress up like she costs $2 an hour. He says something classy and put together would suit her. She takes that as a challenge and vows to dress to impress during their hangout, and Amane pleads for mercy. The next day, she shows up with a new look that stuns him. Her hair's tied back to avoid getting swatted by cats, and she dares him to laugh. But Amane just compliments her, and off they go while holding hands. At the cat cafe, Sheena is excited by all the cute cats around and tries to pet one, but gets snubbed. Amane reassures her that it was just saying hello. Later, while sipping tea, she gushes over the presentation, deeming it too cute to drink. However, she finally drinks it, and Amane sneakily takes a photo of the moment, saying that she has a mustache. She tries to delete it, but when Amane tells her that she looked cute, she pulls back the idea of deleting. As they pet the cats, Sheena asks why he likes them. He says they remind him of her, who is tough on the outside but ends up cozying up to people. She immediately protests, saying that she doesn't just cozy up to anyone. She accuses him of comparing her to a spoiled kitty. Later, at the mall, they hold hands and stop to admire a dress. Amane asks if she wants to try it on and admits it would look good on her. As she goes to the fitting room, a couple of girls try to hit on Amane and take him home so they can ride a train on him. He turns them down flat, saying he's with someone. Sheena reappears just in time, grabs his arm, and drags him away like a jealous girlfriend, much to Amane's surprise. At the arcade, Amane teaches her how to win a stuffed toy. She finally grabs one, similar to the cat Amane was playing with, and hands it to him, but he tells her she should keep it. Sheena insists it's for him, and he promises to treasure it deeply. Just as he tries to pat her head, Katawaki appears, shocked to see that Sheena has a boyfriend. She quickly denies it, and when Katawaki looks closer, he just realizes that the handsome chad beside Sheena is Amane. Once the situation's explained, Katawaki compliments Amane's looks, and Sheena asks him to keep their secret. He agrees as he's not about to ruin his budding friendship with Amane. Later, as they head home, Amane apologizes, but Sheena says it's not his fault they got spotted. They talk about Katawaki and how cool he is. Sheena tells Amane he's got the same vibe, but Amane disagrees. She asks why he always puts himself down, but when he doesn't answer, she says it's okay, as she's willing to hype him up if that's what it takes to get his confidence up. The next day, while hanging out with Itsuki and Katawaki, Amane finds himself under interrogation. They question whether he and Sheena are really just friends, and while he insists they are, no one believes him. Katawaki asks Amane if he really doesn't have feelings for Sheena, and despite trying to keep composure, he doesn't deny it. Later, back home, Amane finds Sheena acting shady and hiding her phone. He asks her what she's hiding, and she confesses that she got some childhood photos of him from Shihoko. He demands to see them, but she refuses. They wrestle for the phone, and when they slip, Amane ends up on top of her. The tension rises between them for a big bang, and Sheena closes her eyes, bracing for a kiss, but gets a cheek pinch instead. He scrolls through the pictures on her phone while she's deep in thought, wondering what his luscious lips would taste like. Later, Sheena casually asks Amane if he's got any plans for Mother's Day. He says he would have helped out if he were home, but instead, he's just sending flowers. Sheena fires back, asking how his parents let him live alone while knowing he's absolutely useless with his chores. Amane, visibly hit by a memory, kind of spaces out. Then he tells her he had his reasons for not staying home. She's not buying it, but he pats her head and reassures her not to worry. Sheena calls his lie, but tells him it's fine if he doesn't want to talk. He eventually admits he left to avoid some guys, as in the past, he had 3 so-called friends. Because of his naivety, he didn't realize that his so-called friends only hung around for his money. Then, they trashed him behind his back, calling him their walking ATM machine, and when Amane confronted them about it, they told him that they never saw him as a friend. After that mess, he just stopped trusting people and moved towns for a fresh start. Sheena, fierce as ever, says she would have cut the glizzies of those guys if she'd been there. Amane tells her to save her strength for her own problems, but Sheena immediately calls him out, telling him not to compare troubles, and she just wants to be there for him like he was for her. She asks him to lean on her for once, and she wants to pamper him. Amane accuses her of trying to make him dependent, but then she softly says that he's strong and reliable. She pulls him close and tells him to just relax. Amane complains she's being pushy, but she insists it's just repayment. So they stay like that, hugging each other quietly. Then Amane, all serious again, says he doesn't want to rely on her too much since he's a guy. Sheena calls him out for not reading the room and starts to leave in frustration, but he grabs her from behind and hugs her. Sheena, flustered, asks why he's hugging her from behind. Amane, deadpan, says it's not much different from the front. He tells her not to turn around and let him be selfish for once, and she lets him. Sheena tells him that she's also selfish, and when he asks her when, she tells him that he needs to open his eyes wider to see it. She escapes to the kitchen to cook, leaving him to rethink his life choices. Later, Amane heads out for a run, suddenly inspired to get his act together, as he wants to feel more confident around her. At school, some girls corner Sheena with a juicy rumor about how they heard she went to the mall with a guy. Amane watches closely, and Sheena doesn't even flinch. She confirms it right away, calling the guy the most special man in her life, despite only as her friend, and drops the word date. It shocked the entire class. Back home, Amane warns her that that kind of talk might give people the wrong idea. But she tells Amane how much their time together means to her, and that he's the one person she trusts most. She couldn't care less what anyone thinks, as while being popular is exhausting, his place is the only space where she feels safe. Later, Amane shares that he's picked up a new hobby in running. She raises an eyebrow and asks if he's working out for a reason. He says it's to bulk up a bit so he can be more of a man. She teases him, asking if he wants to be pampered again, and informs him that she'll do anything he asks. However, she warns him that his request must be within reason, but she expects him to return the favor. As practice, Amane tells her to make a request. She initially wants to ask him to sleep together, but opts for a head pat and tells him that she likes it when he touches her. That night, Sheena wastes no time wanting to progress the plot and be the aggressor, showing Amane that she means business when she goes for the kiss. However, he wakes up, realizing that it was a creamy dream where he bumps bellies with Sheena. and when he looks down, he realizes that it's a mess. At school, Chidos immediately roasts him, asking why he looks dead inside for the whole day. He lies and blames it on his morning run. Sheena, ever caring, tells him to go rest, but he insists he's totally fine. Later, Sheena senses something's off and asks why he's being weird. Amane dodges her questions, but she keeps poking until he cracks. He confesses about the dream, and Sheena starts asking weirdly specific follow-ups like she's storing the answers for science. Amane tells her not to overthink it. They end up admitting they've never been with anyone before, and while Sheena gets excited, Amane just wants to crawl into a hole reserved for virgins. Eventually, exam season hits. The school drops the schedule, and Amane asks if it's cool to study with his friends. Sheena says she's fine with it, and even offers to make food if they don't mind her tagging along. Amane suggests she bring Chidos too, but Sheena reveals she and Chidos already made plans because her dad might actually disown her if she flunks. But Amane's not buying it and believes that it's all a scheme to get herself invited. Sheena then asks why he's so hyped for exams, and he says it's all about boosting his confidence. After hearing that, Sheena raises the stakes and says that if he makes the top 10 ranking, she'll do anything he asks. Amane jokes about making a wild request, and she responds that she'd be impressed by his guts and probably go along with it anyway. While deep down he wants to progress the steamy plot, instead, he ruins it by asking for an ear cleaning session. When the group finally comes over, Amane greets them at the door, and Katawaki is impressed with how Sheena looks like a wife. They study, eat, and vibe for a bit. After everyone leaves, Sheena serves Amane some tea. He tells her she's way too caring, and she admits she actually loves taking care of him. While Amane's brain tries to reboot, Sheena pulls him in close and starts playing with his lips, asking him to let her always spoil him. After exams wrap up, Amane lands 6th place, and Sheena is all smiles, congratulating him like a proud parent. She brings up her promise and tells him to go ahead and reward himself. But Amane, in true humble boy fashion, says she deserves the reward more as she tops the rankings. Sheena just shrugs and says being on top is kind of her default setting. Later, back at home, Amane decides to cash in that reward for her and asks if she wants anything. Sheena thinks for a bit, then orders him to chop some cucumber and rub it with salt. Amane is visibly crushed by the mundanity of it all, and Sheena expresses how she's happy with her current situation. She mutters that only she can grant her true wish anyway. When Amane asks what her true wish might be, she just smirks and says it's better if he doesn't know. Then she tells him to come get his reward, and Amane just stands there like he's been sentenced to death by embarrassment. He hesitates, but Sheena insists that he will enjoy this reward. He finally lays his head down for an ear cleaning session, and while she's at it, Sheena casually asks if it's true that guys see it as romantic when girls clean their ears. Amane admits it feels kinda nice, and Sheena teases him for it. After finishing up one ear, she tells him to flip over, and that's when Amane's brain crashes at the sight of her smoother than butter thighs. He lays his head on her lap anyway, and she continues to clean it up. Then, after finishing, Sheena plays with his hair while he quietly creams inside. She compliments his hair texture, and Amane says he likes hers too. Then he apologizes for always touching it without asking, but Sheena tells him that she loves it when he touches her. And hearing that, Amane almost combusts from down under for pumping too much blood. He's starting to wonder how much longer he can keep himself from folding. Then, he dozes off on her lap, and when he wakes up, she's asleep too, peaceful as ever. He tries to wake her up, but she's out cold. He pokes her cheek, yells her name, but to no response. So, being the responsible one for once, he carries her to her apartment and tucks her in. Right before he leaves, she mumbles that he should sleep beside her. He respectfully declines and lets the teddy bear fill in for him instead, which she gladly cuddles with. The next day, Sheena swings by and Amane returns her apartment key. She asks if he noticed any photos while he was in her room. To her relief, he says that he didn't, but when he starts mentioning everything he does see in her room, like the dolls he gifted her, Sheena freaks out and tells him to stop talking. He then mentions how she asked him to sleep with her, and she quickly assures him, in panic, that she would never let her degenerate thoughts take over. Amane tells her that just because they're friends doesn't mean he can smash her cakes on command. Sheena fires back that it's not so different from letting him sleep on her lap, and Amane warns her not to tempt him, but she claps back, telling him not to underestimate her. The next morning, Sheena shows up at his place, showcasing her summer outfit. She asks if anything looks off, and when Omane looks her down, he notices her smoother than butter legs in display, almost causing him to cream. Then immediately warns her to wear tights so other boys won't see them, and when she teases him for liking her legs, she clearly sees that he does. However, Amane turns the table by accusing her of trying to seduce him with her bare legs. Sheena grabs him and asks directly if her legs makes him excited, and he can't help but admit that she looks great with her new outfit with her legs out. She smiles and expresses how happy she is that she got him to see her outfit before anyone. Later at school, Sheena's outfit causes instant distraction. The boys are all starry-eyed, and Amane is internally sulking like a forgotten side character, jealous of the attentions she's getting. After school, Chitos and Itsuki head home together, while Katawaki invites Amane to hang out. But before they can leave, they bump into Sheena, who says she has work duty to help the teachers. Amane immediately bails on Katawaki to help her out, but Katawaki tags along like a true wingman. Afterward, Sheena thanks them both for helping out her work, but Amane overhears some girls gossiping about her about being a hoe around the teachers. Back at his place, Amane expresses his frustrations about it, but Sheena, unfazed, says it's no big deal, as she'd be more surprised if people weren't gossiping. She admits not everyone likes her, but most just fake liking her for the sake of appearances. Amane says he wouldn't be surprised if they think she's trying to steal Katawaki, their collective crush or moon for the teachers for better grades. Sheena assures him that Katawaki isn't her type, as just like her, they hold a similar role in popularity. Amane, flustered, says he likes Sheena's real, private side better. She blushes, clearly touched, and says she's glad he knows the real her. Then, she confesses that she used to act like an angel so people would like Het. But now with Amane by her side, she declares she's gonna start being more herself in public, as what matters is that the people closest to her like the real her. It reminds Amane's promise to watch over her, and he assures her that he will continue to fulfill his promise. However, this makes Amane panic slightly, because if more people see the real Sheena, more people will fall for her. He says he's not sure how to feel about that. Sheena calls his jealousy adorable and proceeds to shower him in compliments, calling him cool and cute until he's fully blushing and emotionally short-circuited. From their heated exchange, Amane shuts Sheena up with a firm hand to her mouth and warns her that as she will keep teasing, he'll shut her up without the hand next time. But the moment he lets go, Sheena yanks him and plants a kiss on him before bolting away, leaving Amane standing there like a stunned NPC in a dating sim. The next day at school, Chitos and Sheena are deep in sports day plans, chatting like nothing happened. But the second Amane walks into the classroom and greets everyone, Sheena avoids his gaze like he's the sun, and she forgot her sunscreen. So he just cold shoulders her right back. Later in the cafeteria, Itsuki and Katawaki casually ask Amane about the cold front between him and Sheena. He admits things are weird, and says that they're just being distant. Itsuki fires back at him to stop being a coward and shoot his shot. But Katawaki figures that Amane is just afraid of rejection, which hits the nail on the head, honestly. Amane sighs and says life would be easier if he looks like handsome Squidward. But Katawaki tells him to knock off the self-pity. That evening, as Amane is deep in his feelings, Sheena pops in and casually apologizes for ditching him before dinner the day prior. He brushes it off, and she takes a seat beside him on the other side of a clearly intentional distant. He finally asks her why she kissed him, and Sheena excuses herself saying that she just wanted to mess with him. Days later, Chitos is on the verge of a meltdown because she and Itsuki end up on different teams for sports day, and Amane is internally screaming over which sport he should pretend to enjoy. Later, while Sheena is busy cooking like usual, Amane asks what sports she signed up for, and to both their surprise, they picked the same events. Sheena calls him lazy, and Amane admits he's just not built for athletics. She asks if he hates sports, and he clarifies that he hates if he's forced to play sports. Sheena sighs, says it's a shame she won't get to see him shine athletically, and Amane smirks, saying not to count him out just yet. Encouraged, she tells him to give it his best. Then he opens and eats some gourmet ice cream. When he notices that Sheena is interested, he casually feeds her ice cream, which she's very much enjoying. However, he realizes that he just broke their distance, panics, and hands over the whole pint before retreating, leaving Sheena sad. On sports day, Chitos dominates the relay race, and to Amane's surprise, Katawaki informs him that Chitos used to be the ace of the relay team. Amane asks him why she quit, and Katawaki tells him how in the past, one of her teammates had a crush on Itsuki, and it created drama when Chitos started dating him. Then, the scavenger race starts, and Amane lines up for it. When the clue is revealed, Sheena approaches him like it's fate and says he fits the description on her clue. Amane fires back that she fits his clue too. The two of them, from opposite teams, grab hands and make a dash to the finish line, and they win. Then, in front of the whole crowd, Chitos reads out their clues and reveals that Amane had to find someone beautiful, while Sheena was looking for someone special. Afterward, the boys of the school are not thrilled, and they swarm Amane like angry, simping fanboys. They question why their angel would pick a lonely, boring bum like him. Amane, clearly overwhelmed, tells them to take turns asking him questions. He explains they're neighbors, and the rumor about the boy dating her is true, and that man was him, but he was not dating her. The boys are not convinced, and one dramatic simp says Amane doesn't appreciate their angel. That's when Amane drops the bomb that he doesn't care about their angel, but he just cares about Sheena. Right on cue, she shows up and tells the angry mob to back off. One guy asks if she actually likes Amane, and she shoots back, asking if he has a problem with that. They question why she'd choose Amane of all people, and she demands to know why they think Amane's so awful. They answer that Amane is a dull, boring, lonely bum who has no riz and doesn't deserve someone angelic like Sheena. But that's when Sheena claps back that good looks are not everything, and that Amane is everything but dull, as he is a gentleman and cool. Then she continues defending Amane like a knight in sparkly armor, lists all his virtues, and leaves the crowd silenced. After the simps leave, she turns to Amane and casually invites him to dinner. Later, Amane stands alone, deciding that after what just happened, he has to tell Sheena how he truly feels. Back home, he thinks about how to articulate his messy bundle of feelings. Before he can get too deep, Sheena appears and says she knows he probably has a lot on his mind. She apologizes for throwing him to the wolves earlier with the whole school-wide confession scene. She asks if he's mad, and he says he's not. Then Amane apologizes for being a coward who ignores her feelings. Sheena admits she's guilty of the same and apologizes too. Finally, Amane pulls her close and confesses that he never thought he could fall for anyone, but she proved him wrong. He even admits that when they first met, she was cold, a little bossy, and totally irresistible. However, she grew wanting to get to know her deeper and to have her for himself. Sheena blushes and confesses that she held back her feelings at first, but realizes that she also wanted more with him. Amane then promises to be a better version of himself, the kind of guy who can make her happy. He expresses how he cares about her more than anyone and asks her to be his girlfriend. With light in her eyes, Sheena smiles and says yes. They hug intimately, and when Amane promises to give her happiness, she hugs him tighter out of love. If you watch this anime recap until the end, comment down Beauty and the Bum. If you like anime recaps like this, watch this video.